Always gotta double check.
Yep. All right, so welcome. This is the Peterborough Town Library's 2024 Artificial Intelligence class. We've done a previous one of this in 2023, but as always, a lot of things have changed. And I also have updated the slides from the 2023 class, so anyone who has those slides will also be able to see the updated slides for this one. And if Rebecca has your email address, she will also be able to send you a recording of this and the slides. If anyone has any questions during whenever I'm talking, feel free to type it into the chat or raise your hand or let Rebecca know. We will have scheduled pauses for questions and answers as we go through this. And also, if you have any questions afterward, I know personally that's when I have my best questions, when I'm not in front of the person who I want to ask, then you can always send Rebecca an email and we will get back to you. And we will oftentimes add those questions and answers to the slides afterward as well, because generally if someone has a question, it'll be a good question for everyone else as well. All right, so I figured I would overwhelm you with an infographic to start. This is just a kind of small synopsis of the different infrastructure, machine learning applications, and sources of data that are all integrated together to create what we refer to as AI. I also have a link at the bottom of the page if you want to see the infographic yourself when you're at your house, which will have, which gives you the ability to kind of dive into each individual section and kind of see what you recognize or what you don't recognize. In general, though, we will be talking about the pink/purple section in the top right, which are the applications. You will notice under your applications horizontal, it will give you kind of an overview of some of the things you can use for that subject. So for text, it says, Jasper, Grammarly, Copy AI, Image, Midjourney, Photo Room, Imagen, and you can kind of think of, well, I want to do something with video editing, and you can look at this list and you can see that Runway, Descript, Captions, Lensa, and Remini are all options, and then you can kind of go from there. Also at the end of this, I have a link to a site that allows you to search for what you're looking for AI, and it will give you a list of tools that might be able to accomplish that. So as always, let's start off with a brief description of what this is. And in this case, we just asked AI what AI is. And it basically said it's the simulation of human intelligence in machines that are programmed to think and learn like humans. They can perform tasks, and that AI has the potential to transform many industries and change the way we live and work. Even if you don't think you've interacted with AI or that you don't use it, it has been used on you. It's used for a lot of marketing purposes. Also, if you've seen a security camera in the past 24 hours, AI has probably had something to do with that. And it's just everything is kind of getting integrated with AI to provide a kind of a less hands-on experience needed for those who maintain that product. AI is not sentient or conscious. It's not objective or unbiased. And it's not basically copying all text and pictures and pasting parts of that. It will take all of the information that is given to it and convert that into numbers, figure out what numbers correspond with what other numbers, and then it will regurgitate an answer. So it's not direct copy paste. And I know some people have that misconception. So I figured I'd start off with some lighthearted questions real quick. Will AI take your job? Maybe, but probably not. Humans are still needed throughout the process. So if anything, from what I've seen, obviously there are articles to the contrary, but from my experience, AI has just enhanced people's ability to do their job. Will AI help you with your job? That is a most likely, depending on area of industry or what you do in your job or your daily life. You may or may not find greater or less use of AI. This is a big one. Will AI lie to you? Yeah, it'll just straight up lie to you. One of the ways to think about this is AI is programmed to give you a response, and it has to give you a response. There's no part of it that doesn't want to respond to your question. So it may not give you correct information because of its desire to give you a response. For example, one of the fun ones from earlier days of AI, and by earlier days I mean 1 to 2 years ago, was you could ask who was the first man to walk across the British Channel, and it would give you an answer. You could ask it who was the first person to live on the moon, and it would give you an answer. First person to live on Mars, it would give you an answer. It would just make up things, and it will easily lie to you. Will AI continue to get better? It's already progressed rapidly compared to last year. The things AI can accomplish now versus last year is somewhat similar. It's just more refined and overall a better experience. Will AI help you? And the answer, of course, is most likely. AI is already being used in, for example, the medical field for diagnosis. And while that may be extremely scary, basically think about it as instead of a doctor having to go look at his 2,000-page book on conditions, he puts in some symptoms and AI will regurgitate or give him 5 options, and then that narrows down and just makes his job a lot easier to try and move forward with a diagnosis. But yep, AI is pretty much everywhere. Our cultural understanding of AI used to be kind of something like this, where it was kind of like this unknown monster or scary thing, but it's rather benign in general. Do we have any questions on what AI is, or does anyone have any experience with using AI before we continue?
I feel that AI is great because it's a thing where you could go to the database. And the more information we get, the more we just don't right away accept things that are untrue. So the more educated you become with the information, you don't have to believe what everybody says, because you're dealing from such a huge database. And it's helped me quite a bit in every field, because I go into biotech, I go into healthcare, I go into economics, I go into financials. And everything I actually access through AI, they don't agree with me a lot of times, and we have disagreements, messaging each other back. But I think it enhanced my curiosity, and it's helped me greatly.
I agree. I mean, one of the fun things with AI is that, at least for me, with my job with computers, one of the problems I run into is I will search message boards for solutions to problems I experience. And those are kind of difficult to find information on. They weren't initially made to be searchable, and some of the information may be from over a decade ago. So it saves me a lot of time asking AI a question And even if it doesn't give me the answer, it at least points me in the right direction to learn something new. Like it'll have a word or a phrase that I immediately click with, and then I can go further with that word or phrase. So I think it's a fantastic tool for pretty much any industry.
Yeah, it's an ongoing investigation.
Yeah,
Huh?
it's your rubber ducky. Is anyone familiar with the rubber ducky concept?
No.
So the rubber ducky concept is, if you've ever tried to like learn something, one of the best ways to learn it is by explaining it to someone else. And consequently, anytime you're trying to figure out a problem, sometimes it helps to just have something or someone to talk to, because as you say your ideas out loud, you kind of realize if you're on the correct path or not. So AI can facilitate that by just being the rubber ducky that you're talking to figure out a problem. All right.
How do you ask AI, Tim?
There are a couple different options, and we'll go over that in a little bit. The main ones are the, or as I like to say, the big boys would be ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Google's Gemini, and Claude. And basically, these are just a chat interface where you have a box where you put in text, you hit enter, and then it will generate a response. And we'll show you an example of that as well at the end.
Thank you.
Yep. So AI through the years. I'm not going to go over every single one of these, but the start was the Turing test. And basically, it was a test that said if a machine can trick a human into the human thinking that it was interacting with another human, then that would accomplish AI. That would essentially be a big thumbs up on it having quote unquote intelligence. And then kind of on the less fun side was Microsoft's foray in 2016, otherwise known as TAE. Microsoft, I think I have a page. No, it's a little later, but basically Microsoft gathered a whole bunch of information, put it together, created a chatbot, put it on Twitter, and basically said, interact with this chatbot, talk to this virtual person, and they will respond to you. The problem with that is AI suffers from garbage in, garbage out, which essentially means it has to be trained on data. And if you take any societal thing like climate change, AI is trained on both pro and anti climate change things. So regardless of where you lay on the spectrum of believing or not believing in climate change, both of those articles are put into AI. So you may get an answer that you think is incorrect, or you deem to be incorrect, or will be deemed to be incorrect in 10 years or so, because whatever information it's given, it uses that to generate its responses. And in the case of TAE, it just became incredibly racist, and Microsoft shut it down. Just some quick notes on adoption. So there was a survey for 1,363 businesses, and this was both large and small businesses. And it was reported that 72% of businesses utilize AI in at least one business function. So this isn't that impressive. This would also include things like if you use Grammarly, which is essentially a souped up spell check and grammar checker, that would count as one business function to reply to emails. 50% of businesses utilize AI in 2 or more business functions, which is more interesting. And the workers themselves reported that 55% of them use AI at work or outside of work. So half the workforce reported that they either used AI at home or in the office. Some common AI applications, virtual assistants like Siri and Alexa. So Siri is what's on your iPhone. Alexa is what Amazon goes forward with. If you ever recommended something, that's often generated by AI. They know if, person A looks at these 3 products, then if person B looks at product A, they might be interested in these additional 2 products. And this always used to be the case, but with AI, it's just a little snappier and it requires a little less interaction. Fraud detection, if AI sees money moving in a weird way, it'll notify a human and alert them. Autonomous vehicles, that's a pretty clear-cut one. Incredibly scary, but it's still use. Chatbots and customer service. Sometimes now, if you're on a website and it will ask if you want to chat with someone, you aren't chatting with someone, you're chatting with a robot. And eventually, if the chatbot is unable to fully help you with your problem, that's when you'll be passed over to a representative. Image and facial recognition for security systems. So basically, there are cameras that will record the face of everyone who it sees. And then the next time it sees that person, it will attach that new video to the face. So you're able to go into these systems, click on someone's face, and see every single time the camera has seen that person, which, makes you feel safe and unsafe at the exact same time. And medical diagnosis and healthcare systems. How AI is trained. The answer, I'm not going to read all this, but the answer is essentially math. You get tons of computing power. You feed a lot of stuff into it. You convert it to numbers. It converts it to numbers. It then converts numbers to numbers, and then it outputs answers. One of the ways that, doesn't sound that great, how they trained it was they basically took all of this raw computing power, crunched the numbers, saw the output, and then they paid workers in the US, but oftentimes not in the US, to check the output to see if it made sense. And it was just a circular process of seeing what worked and what didn't. And we have a link to a New York Times article on the workers in Kenya who were the ones training ChatGPT. Any questions on that section? Cool. All right, so what could go wrong? Apart from an artificial intelligence driving your car and crashing into something, what could go wrong? Algorithmic bias. So this is one of my favorite topics because it's hilarious to me. And then when you think about it, it makes complete sense. And also it's horrible. Imagine you took a look at, and I do not know these numbers, I'm just making numbers up right now. Let's say you take the 100 largest companies in the United States, and you ask AI to determine what makes a successful CEO. It will take all that information, and when you ask who should another company hire for their CEO, it will take the information it gathered from the 100 most successful companies and apply it to the hiring decision. This makes pretty much complete sense, right? You take an example of what has worked and you apply it to something new that you want to work. The problem with this is historically, let's just say 90 out of 100 of those companies probably have a CEO who's a white dude. So AI is going to recommend more white dudes to fill the next position because that's the data it was trained on. And we have an article about that. For artificial intelligence is dreaming up a very white world. That also has to do with images and stuff like that. Amazon also scrapped a AI recruiting tool that showed bias against women for exactly what I had just described, where it was trained on data sets that involved a lot of guys. So it thought guy was one of the parameters of success. Any questions on this wonderfully horrific bit of knowledge? All right, well, as a white guy myself, I feel compelled to say I don't agree with this. You're welcome. You're welcome, Rebecca. All right. This is an article that goes over the very, very wrong with Tay, where the Microsoft chatbot just went full-blown racist. And it becomes increasingly unhinged. The more that people saw that they could get interesting outputs from it, the more people kept pushing Tay to do those interesting outputs, which just made it like a loop of just more and more vile, vile statements. And there's an article linked that's from The Verge that is pretty interesting to read if you ever have time. Other issues, right? AI, being that it's new, it was not really regulated. There weren't very many precedents for how it should be regulated or even how it could be regulated. So some quick issues. Copyright. Whenever they were initially training all of these AI models, they just took information. Like they just, whatever New York Times articles were online, they took them, right? But the issue comes with all of those are the property of New York Times. So if you're training the AI based on other people's work, how do you credit the other people? Because again, the output isn't going to be a direct copy paste from an article. It's going to use some of the terms or thoughts that are espoused in the article, and it will regenerate it. So how do you do copyright claims for AI? Hallucinations, we briefly talked about that. It will make up information. So who walked across the British Channel? In case it's not clear, you have to swim across it, and it will give you an answer. AI can be dumb. Whatever information gets put into it is the information it uses to base its responses. And biased content. That's where if it sees, 90 of the top 100 CEOs are white dudes, that's what it's going to bias its answers towards. And linked here, I have an MIT article that kind of goes over this in much better language. So we're kind of at the section of going over some of the tools, which I think is the more interesting section. And again, we'll send this to you. And then you can even check back at this at the slides in a year, and you'll see if there have been any updates or anything like that. So can AI answer your questions? And the answer, of course, is yes. We have 4 examples of it down below. We have ChatGPT. This is from OpenAI. We have Copilot from Microsoft, which uses ChatGPT. We have Gemini from Google, and we have Claude from Anthropic. I think I pronounced that right. All of these are good. All of these are better or worse in some areas. For example, personally, I find if you are planning a trip, that Gemini is my go-to. So if you were saying, hey, I want to go to New Orleans for a week, what should I do? Gemini will give you like current events that are going to be going on during your trip duration, stuff like that. Can AI help with writing? Once again, the answer is yes. We have the 4 that were on the previous page, and in addition, we have Grammarly. If you're not familiar with Grammarly, this may sound like an ad, but it's essentially a browser plugin, so that anything you write when you're online will be put through Grammarly. and it will give you suggestions as to tone, as to proper comma usage, as to correct word choice, things like that. But what's nice about Grammarly is it also integrates with programs like Word, so you can have it in your Word document while you're typing up a book or a report or anything like that, and it will automatically check all of that information for you. With the 4 options that are right above Grammarly, what you generally will have to do is copy the text into the chatbot and ask it for help, whereas Grammarly just kind of does it as you go. Can AI help with photos? The answer is yes. So if you take a photo and you want to do some stuff to it, here are 2 examples. One is just remove.bg, and all this does is it removes the background from your photos. So you'll see the person, without the background, and then you can put the person on whatever background you want. There's also vectorizer.ai, which I would have probably killed for in high school whenever I was doing graphic design. And it will take an image and it will convert it into a vector format. Vector format, it's one of those things where if you know, you know. If you're not sure what vector format is, then you don't need to. Basically, it's just a different way of representing pixels that's very scalable. Can AI help with meetings? This is one of the more interesting things for me that AI can do. And by meetings, what we're talking about is remote meetings, things over Zoom or Teams or Google Meet, things like that. And I gave you 2 options here. There are many, many more, and I can show you the site where you can go to see options. But the 2 options I have listed are Crisp and Otter. One of the things that Crisp will do is it will remove background noise from both everyone else and yourself. So if people are listening to you and you have a lawnmower in the background, theoretically, Crisp is able to take away that lawnmower sound so people can hear you more clearly. It will also summarize meeting notes. Otter AI is more full in on the summarize meeting notes part of this equation. It will summarize meeting notes. It will produce a overall summary at the very end, like a quick paragraph of what the meeting was for. It will give you action items. So if there were 4 proposals put forth in that meeting, it will figure that out and it will tell you that these are the action items that you need to address for your business meeting. A little bit of warning, in case it wasn't abundantly clear, the AI process is listening to your meeting, right? So this isn't something that you would put on if you had a top secret meeting or something, because it is recording you. It's listening to everything. And while it's not then immediately sharing that with other people, it still is listening to your conversation in order to do what it needs to do. And that kind of goes with any of these programs, ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, Claude. You are inputting information onto not your computer. So if you're working on anything particularly sensitive, these chatbots or these meeting AI bots will have a record of that. So just be aware. The one caveat to this is Microsoft Copilot. If you have their business license, all the information that you put into Copilot is kept within your tenant. And by tenant, that means organization. And that means that the information that you put in to Copilot does not go to Microsoft as a whole. It gets stored within your tenant. So it's a little bit more secure. Make art. This is one of the fun ones, mainly because it's just visual. It's very easy to see what what changes your prompt. If you make any changes to your prompt, it's very easy to see how that changes the output because it's art, it's an image and it's a picture. So we have two options here. There's a lot more. Most of these are pretty costly though. So I opted for the cheaper ones, slash the ones you can use for free, at least for a little bit. Leonardo is a good one. Generate art from prompts. One of my favorite things about Leonardo is that you can look at previously generated images, and then you can see what was or was not successful with the prompt, copy the prompt, and apply it to your own image. And then there's Imagen 3, which you use through Google Gemini, which is a chatbot. And we'll go over that in a little bit. If you're at all interested in websites, or you have your own website, Wonder Chat is interesting. It basically can take all of the information that's available on your website and create a chatbot. So if you run a business and you kind of wish there was a way for someone to be able to navigate your website better, sometimes adding a chatbot might be nice because the person can just ask, hey, I want to see your business's calendar, and the chatbot will be able to point them in the right direction as opposed to them trying to click through the menus. Can AI do other stuff? Yes. The link here, Easy with AI, is essentially just a massive list of AI tools. So you will type in what you want to be able to do, hit search, and you can also search by just only free tools if you desire. And we can, if anyone wants, we can go over how to use the website at the end. Do we have any questions about the Can AI section so far? Okie dokie. When using AI, it's all about the prompt. Just like in real life, when you interact with another human being, being polite and stating exactly what you want really helps the conversation move forward. With AI, just be incredibly direct with what you want. It doesn't really understand nuance that well. The other fun thing you can do is kind of thinking of it as an act as if situation, where if you want an answer, like why is the sky blue, you can set the speaker. So you can say, can you explain why the sky is blue, as if you were a 20-year veteran from a science museum, and set subject, and as if you were talking to an 8-year-old. So you can say that you want, that's basically saying you want an experienced person to be explaining this to a child. That's the level of answer I require here. Otherwise, it just kind of makes up its own default. The other option is set tone or set audience or set subject. And you can say, you know, explain it in a very positive and happy way kind of thing. The other option is you can just ask the chatbot for help. You can just say, hi, I'm looking to create a prompt asking you a question. How should I do that? And it will give you the verbiage that you should use, and you just kind of fill in the blanks. Here's just some vocab with some brief descriptions of what that is. And this goes over prompt, input, output, prompt priming, mega prompt, and linked prompting. And we can circle back to this if anyone so desires. We will talk about priming a prompt right now, though. This is more of a business slide. Create. So you create for prompt engineering. So character, request, examples, adjustments, type of output, and some extras. Who do you want the AI to act as? What do you want to do? You can include examples. So if you want it to produce an article for you, you can give it examples of the types of articles that you want to try and emulate. Type of output, you can describe, you want it cited in a certain way in Chicago format. It's been a while since I've cited anything. You can also say, hey, only give me information from reliable sources and please cite those sources. And if you do that throughout the answer to your question, you'll see that it has basically linked articles explaining what it's trying to explain to you. This process does take a lot longer than just typing in a couple sentences and seeing if it works. But if you are doing a lot of prompts, it's useful to kind of have a guide like this and kind of follow it for every prompt so you get a more consistent output. For the general public, there's a lot of things you can use AI for, right? First drafts, it's really good at first drafts. You can either give it a first draft and ask it to make any changes to make it read better, or you can just say, I am doing a presentation on AI, and if you could generate 20 slides, that would be fantastic. And it will do that for you, which is totally not what I did for this presentation. Creative development. If you are stuck, like if you have writer's block, you can just say, hey, give me ideas, and it will give you ideas. This is, in my opinion, incredibly useful for organizations that, sometimes seemingly have to do something weekly. So, for example, the library, if it was wondering what kind of additional programming it could do, you could just ask, hey, what are 5 ideas for a program we could do in October? And it will give you 5 ideas. And you're like, cool, 3 of these I hate, 1 of them isn't bad, and 1 of them's great. So you've ended up with an idea after like 2 sentences of text, and then you can move forward with that. Communication, sometimes it can help, like if there's a kid who wants to be read to, but they want a story that you made up with specific characters, you can ask AI to generate a 2-page short story based on 3 names. Draft emails, love letters, parenting, all of this shouldn't be exclusively given over to AI. But if you ever want a little bit of help or you ever run out of ideas, I think that's when AI becomes an interesting aspect to that. We have a link to educational navigation. This is a link to Khan Academy. Khan Academy is, once again, this kind of sounds like an ad, but Khan Academy is what they want to be billed as is an online university for learning topics. So if you want to learn anything more, they specifically have pages on how to use AI, and that is what the link will take you to. Your evolving relationship with AI. So Dunning-Kruger curve, it's kind of one of those things where the more, as you learn more about a subject, you realize how little you learn or how little you know. And then at the very end, once you have multiple PhDs, you're like, okay, cool, I got this. Your first thought with AI is, wow, ChatGPT is able to answer all of my questions. It did that quickly, super credible, and it did absolutely everything I wanted it to. It's amazing. And then as you learn a little bit more, wait a minute, ChatGPT is powered by an LLM, which is just a statistical tool used to predict language without understanding what it's actually saying. Number 3 is, oh, this means that ChatGPT will occasionally generate incorrect answers by just getting the information wrong. You're starting to go back up on the curve to trust it more. And ChatGPT is great when there isn't a right answer, but it can't be trusted when the answer must be perfect to be reliable. And then at the very end, once you've learned more and more and you've learned how to interact with these chatbots, you can feel kind of positive about it, where it's a tool to help you. It shouldn't replace an expert. It should help an expert, or help you become more knowledgeable about something. Any questions about this chart? Perfect. Cool. So let me think about this real quick. Does anyone have any questions while I load up some of these pages? Nothing yet. Perfect. All right, so just to be aware, actually, let's click on some links first. Just to be aware, as always, hover over the link before you click on it to make sure that I'm not giving you a bad link. If I go to do other stuff, this is the page that I had talked about, Easy with AI. Please ignore the top left one. I have absolutely no control over what this website says. Yeah, so we're going to scroll down a little bit real quick. But basically, all tool categories, free AI tools, AI courses, AI guides, and then they have an option for you to, if you found an AI tool that they don't have, you can submit it. So free AI tools, if we just go to image generators and click on it, these are the free image generators. I do want to make a very quick side note, which is free doesn't mean free. Free means free to try. And then they may ask you to, pay money afterward. So in this example that I'll give you in a little bit, it's Leonardo, where you can generate like 10 images a day for free. And then after that, you have to pay money. So, they're trying to be like a drug dealer, some of these companies, where they'll give you a taste and then try and get you to come back for more. But free AI image generators, you can just keep scrolling and it'll give you more and more options. Let's see, let's find one that I recognize. Actually, I recognize a lot of these. I was looking for one specifically though. And these aren't like top to bottom, like best to worst or anything like that. So Leonardo, you can see AI image generators, free AI image generators. It'll give you a quick description of what it is. Blah, blah, blah. It's great, wonderful. C prompts. There's a link to take you directly to the website. And then if you scroll down a little bit, it'll show you tools that the users of this website have said are similar. So if you find a tool and it seems interesting but isn't exactly what you wanted, go to its page, scroll down, see the 3 options, and maybe one of those will help you out more. Are there any questions with like Easy AI?
So,
No, perfect. All right. So here's another page. One sec. All right, so this is Leonardo.
Tim, we've just gotten a question. Are all these sites free or do you need a subscription?
Yep, so it really depends. So what I showed you with Easy with AI, what it allows you to do is go to free AI tools. And then, everything in here, you'll be able to use for free. They may try and sell you on some additional services, but no money is required to access any of these.
You need to make an account or like
Yep,
give them your email?
Yeah, you'll just need to make an account with your email. Some of them make an account with your phone number instead. I'm not really sure why they choose that over email, but yeah, you'll just create an account and then you'll have access to it. So Leonardo. This is an image generator. One of the things I like about Leonardo is it has community creations. So this section at the bottom, you can keep scrolling. Again, some of these may be slightly inappropriate, but nothing too crazy. But we can just scroll through the images and see one that we like. This seems inoffensive. Staircase to Heaven. We see a little output of what it was. And we can see up here the prompt details that they used. So they just typed in Staircase to Heaven, style of Leonardo da Vinci. Let's find one with more text, because sometimes they go a little bit crazy. All right, clearly I'm not getting more text. But one of the things I like about Leonardo is you can find an image that you think is cool, and then you can click on it and see what was used to generate it. The next step as to why that's cool is there's an option to remix, which what this does is it sends this prompt and the settings used for the prompt to the image creation tool. So I'm going to hit remix. So black and orange at the top, you can see where the prompt is inputted. Black and orange tortoiseshell cat wearing black sunglasses and a cap with a sign that says cool. Now, I like cats, but let's change this to dogs. I don't really know what a tortoiseshell dog is, but let's see what it comes up with. So we just hit generate, which is in the top right. We can see, you might not be able to, my eyes aren't that good either, but it has a little 3, which means that it will take 3 tokens to generate this. In the top left, you can see how many tokens I have. So 147. And basically this is how they try and get you to pay, is if you pay money, you get a lot more tokens. But I don't pay money, so I don't get a lot more tokens. So generate. Now, it'll take some time to generate. And once it's generated, we can see what the output was. And then based on the output, we can make any changes. Hopefully it doesn't take too long. One of the other things you'll notice for some of these tools is if you are using the free version, your responses may take a while, because if there's a someone who's paying money, their prompts are taken in immediately, and yours are kind of put on a non-priority queue. All right, so those are the 2 generated images. Kind of fun, but you know what? I should have specified this. I kind of wanted a golden retriever. I spelled retriever wrong. Thank you, Grammarly. I meant to do that. Generate. And hopefully we'll get closer to what we want, which is a dog wearing black and gold tortoiseshell sunglasses. That's a golden retriever. And again, I said this earlier, but the reason I really like people to potentially learn about AI through the image generators is it's very easy to see that there's a change based on your prompt. Whereas if you are reading text, it's not always obvious, at least for me. So we have now a golden retriever with a beret. That's different. But golden retriever. One limitation, can anyone spot potentially a huge limitation with the images versus what the prompt was? I'll give you a hint. And a cap with a sign that says cool. Anyone notice any issues here? Yeah, it doesn't do letters well. So this is TCOL. It tried. And this is COMIQL. Yeah, it doesn't do letters very well. It doesn't do words very well, mainly because once again, it kind of doesn't understand the word cool as in us, we are telling it to write cool. It understands that there should be letters there. But there are some paid options that are specifically created so that they will be able to generate letters and numbers and words and stuff like that. So Leonardo is fun. One of the other options is Claude. Claude is a large language model, LLM. This is generally what you are talking about, or what people are talking about when they're talking about AI. I see, can you then take this picture and put it in your work? That is a great question. It goes back to copyright. So far, to my knowledge, no individual has been sued for using AI artwork. That was a lot of caveats. Getty Images or Shutterfly, I forget which one, they specifically have an AI that was allegedly only trained on pieces of art that they have licenses to. And their big thing is, hey, pay for our AI tool, and we guarantee you it is not pulled from someone's work who is not getting a license fee for it. So the answer to the question of, can you take this picture, or can I take something that is generated from here, right, and use it for personal use, you should not feel any bit of worry whatsoever. It's where you start getting into the commercial use that you start having to think about, based on legal precedent. Is this something that's worth going towards? Short answer is you're probably fine. Because if anyone's having a problem with it, it would probably be against Leonardo, not against the individual. But I'm not a lawyer, so take of that what you will. How can Claude help you today? This will be the exact same process for Google Gemini, for Microsoft Copilot, and for ChatGPT. You just have a prompt, you have a little window where you type in words, and then it will spit something out. So let's do a prompt. Program. So I'm working at a library and I want to put on some programs for October. Can you provide 5 examples of programs which would be suitable for a library event? All right, so that was, it took me what, like a minute? Because I misspelled a couple words, it took me a minute to generate that. And it gave me 5 examples or 5 things to try. So we have, so once again, the prompt is I'm working at a library and want to put on some programs for October. Can you provide 5 examples of programs which would be suitable for a library event? The answers are spooky storytelling hour, invite local authors or community members to read spine-tingling short stories or excerpts from classic horror novels. This can be an evening event with mood lighting and refreshments. We then have haunted library tour. We have pumpkin painting, costume swap, which sounds extremely dangerous. And we have a witchy workbook workshops. Offer a series of mini workshops on topics like tarot reading, crystal healing, or spell casting. These can be educational and engaging for teens and adults interested in the occult. So that seemed to work pretty good. Thank you. Can you provide 5 examples? So the next thing I'm typing is thank you, because if AI ever does become sentient and starts killing people, I really want it to be one of the polite ones. So thank you. Can you provide 5 examples of programs which would be suitable for kids under the age of 12? Now, this is a really interesting prompt for a couple of reasons. One, this is requiring the AI to remember what the previous prompt was, because my prompt is referencing what it has just accomplished. So let's see if it'll do it. Certainly, here are 5 program ideas that would be great for kids under 12 at a library event. Once again, we get spooky story time. Now we have pumpkin patch crafts, the mummy wrap challenge. We have monster mask making. That actually sounds like a pretty good one. And then Witch's Brew STEM Lab. I like it. And one of the reasons I wanted to show that these chatbots are able to reference what happened earlier in the conversation is twofold. One, I'm just reminding you that the AI is remembering exactly what you typed in, and it will remember exactly what you typed in for a long time. But the other thing is, if you are moving from this prompt, so where I'm talking about library ideas, and if I wanted to go into researching something for computers, I would have to use a different prompt, because I've already put in this one in its mind for this chat that it's thinking about library programs. So I would just open up a new prompt so it would be fresh. It would be essentially a different conversation that Claude doesn't have to remember any of this information for. I just ran over by 1 minute, but does anyone have any questions or any questions about anything at all that we talked about, or about kind of the prompt process for these tools?
And do you know if Conville High School is teaching any of this to the high school students or?
I don't know if Conval is. I do know colleges are.
Oh, sorry.
Because this is a big thing with colleges. Because I know when I went to college, everyone was worried about Wikipedia, right? And kids copying and pasting from Wikipedia, and this is so much worse. I mean, I could ask this thing, hey, do a 10-page presentation on explaining why Macbeth was the good guy, and it'll do it, you know. And then I would just have to edit it to make it sound like it's from my voice.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think, at least to my knowledge, high schools haven't really been teaching people how to use it. But I know colleges have, because it's it's going to be used in the job market. So it's a skill that you kind of have to know how to navigate.
I have a question. I don't know if you can hear me from here. What were the image generators that were better with text that you mentioned?
Let's see. So
I've been doing that, having bad text, taking it into Canva, erasing that, and then adding my own over the top, and it's really annoying. So I'm just curious.
yeah, are you using the built-in one in Canva?
No, that one is not. I've played with it, but it's not amazing. Mostly like Mid-Journey and
Okay.
a few others like that. Yeah.
Let's see if one of these pops out at me, because I was thinking about adding it in, and then I didn't because I thought that was going to be too specific. So I might have to find it and add it to the slides afterwards. But let's see if one of these names pops. Is it Nightcaf? No. All right, I'll find that for you and I'll add it to the slides.
Thank you. And I'm also curious about some of the unusual ways people are using AI, in terms of like recipe and meal plan creation, or just things that we wouldn't think of that people are using.
Recipes is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've ever tried to like pretend to be a bartender for like a party or something, but AI is great. You just say, hey, I have these 5 things. What am I doing? And it'll explain exactly what you need to do. There is an app, I don't think it's for Android, but for iPhone that I liked that got an AI update, and it was called Half Lemons. And basically the whole point of it was, what's in my fridge that I can use to create a meal, including, half of a lemon, because some recipes are like use half a lemon and then you're stuck with another half of a lemon. And basically you just put in your ingredients and it will generate like 5 to 10 recipes that you can make. And then you click on it and it's like, bake this for 10 minutes per side at 475, and you can just kind of follow along. I have not tried it for food specifically, mainly because I kind of do my own thing with that. But for the drink making, it's good. It's useful. The next step, and I saw that there was an app trying to do it, but basically, how some smart refrigerators see inside your refrigerator to see what you have, and it'll say like, hey, you're out of milk. Where like the app would link to your Samsung fridge, so you could see the recipes based on what the camera in your fridge saw. But that was like way too Big Brother for me. Also, lawnmowers, the AI-powered lawnmowers are pretty good. If anyone was wondering. No one asked, but if anyone was wondering.
Have you noticed any other interesting intersections between art and AI? Like, for example, I saw someone ask ChatGPT to create a dance for them and they did it live in front of an audience. There's a lot of controversy with, we want AI to do the mundane things that we don't you know, and kind of leave the creativity to the creatives, but AI increasingly seems to be doing more of the creative work and less of the mundane tasks. Well,
Yeah,
well-
just like with the example for like the library thing that we did, you know, at a simpler level of that, you know, it'll just generate ideas. I mean, so I have one fun thing and one scary thing. So the one fun thing is there was a AI generated art contest, and it was won by someone who just took a photograph, which I find hilarious. That everyone thought it was like this wonderful AI generated piece of art, and it's just like a world-renowned photographer took a weird picture and entered it. That's one of my fun things. But the other one is currently the next thing that's, you know, coming out that they've been working on are videos, right? Are actual honest to goodness videos with just AI generated stuff, which is incredibly impressive, but also incredibly scary. Because, you know, is there going to be a portion of like a major blockbuster in the future that, you know, maybe it wasn't finished with AI, but like the concept for a scene was generated using a prompt? You know, because I could imagine it, you know, well, like for like a Marvel movie or something, you know, you just find like a Marvel fan page and you're like, hey, take all of this information as to theories and make a sequel to the movie that people are complaining about. You know, take all of this input and figure out a storyline. And the whole thing with AI voice actors now too. Currently, that's getting a lot of flack whenever game developers or things of that nature are using the AI programs instead of honest to goodness real human beings. So I guess in that aspect, it you know, can take jobs.
Thank you, Tim.
Yeah. If anyone has any questions afterward, send an email, and I will later tonight go through my notes and try and find answers. And if you have any additional questions, Wednesday at 12, as always.
Be here tomorrow at 12 for tech drop-in.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Stop recording.
Nice to